Hello and welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast. BuiltOnAir is a regular podcast where we talk with everyday people and learn about the amazing things they are doing with Airtable. Today's podcast is sponsored by OpenSide, the leading solutions provider for Airtable customers. Check out openside.com to learn more about their products and services that can take your Airtable usage to the next level. Use promo code BuiltOnAir to receive $20 towards any product purchase.
On this episode, we talk to Jeremy Taylor, a CNC machinist and programmer. Jeremy has designed and manufactured components for everything from cake decorators to aerospace companies. He recently launched his own company called Defiant CNC, which focuses on providing machine shops with an enterprise resource planning system, or ERP, customized to meet their needs using Airtable, of course. After Jeremy gave us a run-through of the day in the life of a machinist, he tells us how Airtable has helped him and his clients with their everyday work tasks. Jeremy walks us through the ERP system he made for his machine shop, which he built using Airtable and Zapier. He and his team were able to use the Airtable-powered system to manage workflows, facilitate requests for quotes, to schedule machining jobs, and to track inventory.
So here is my base. So initially, we have to enter a new part into the base, so we know exactly what it is we want to make. So here we just have a simple form in Airtable where we enter all the applicable data for manufacturing that part. We would include a print, which is a blueprint for manufacturing the part. So like, as you can see here, here's the different prints, and this just tells you exactly how to make something. Mm-hmm. The tolerances and specifications for making that particular part. So then after the part is uploaded, we can submit requests for quotes because we have to do various different things like purchase material. Sometimes there's subsequent processes to machining that we have to outsource, like heat treating or plating, things of that nature.
Right.
So we can do that here. We can request quotes for different things. Like here is for a material purchase. This is the size of material we're going to purchase, the type of material. And in the vendors field here, I have a multi-select field it can link. It's a linked field, but it can link to multiple records. So you can send these quotes out to various different companies that sell material or do this particular plating. And so as far as that's concerned, I have SendGrid set up. So it just sends this email out to all the companies that were included in that particular field of vendors. Then once quotes come in, we know exactly how much the material is going to cost, how much plating is going to cost for the number of parts that we're machining. And we can then send a quote to the customer on how much we think we can manufacture the part for. And then if they accept the quote, we would open up a new job. And we do that similarly with a form for a new job, and we would link that to all the parts. If it's just one part, we would add just one part here. If it's an assembly and there's a number of component parts, we would add all those different parts here, so they're all linked. And that's another thing that I like about Airtable, is that it's a simple, easy to use relational database. So after the parts and jobs are added, I have a Zapier integration that automatically initiates the first record in this table called part operations. So when a new part's added, Zapier will create a initial record here, because every part is going to have an operation one, an op one. And here we just basically break down, here's the operation, here's the machinist who was doing the machining. Here's the particular machine that they used. We have here we just have we have all the different machines that you can select from that are in our shop. We have any locations of fixturing that we have to utilize in order to make that particular part. And here we have just a breakdown, text description of things that the machinist would want to know when he or she's getting ready to set up the job. And like I said before, I like the attachment fields because it gives a visual representation, so you can see exactly how something is set up.
Right.
Before and after, like here we have, this is the third operation. This is how it's supposed to be put in the vise before the third operation commences. And then after the third operation is complete, this is what it would look like.
This must be great for onboarding. If you ever get, say, an apprentice, for instance, and it seems like they just have all, like you've made your own manual almost for all of the things that you do.
Yes. So like this especially facilitates repeat jobs. So if when somebody else comes in, if I ran this particular job the first time and somebody else runs it the second time, they would be able to look at all my notes, all my attachments, and whether they were, experienced or a novice, it still facilitates doing the setup. And then after each operation, to verify the quality of the part, we have a different person who does the inspection.
Okay.
So initially you have the machinist who's running the part, and then you'd have an inspector who would be another machinist or a supervisor or whatever, and they would verify all the part dimensions and say that it's like, if it's a production run, they would check the first piece, and then if you have to make 100 more, you would know that those 100 pieces are all going to be within tolerance. They're going to meet all the specifications.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have the setup time, so this delineates exactly how long each operation took to set up and how long it took to run a part, and then the number of parts in that run. So you could have multiple parts inside of a fixture. So in that case, you would have more than one part here. If you're just running one part at a time, it would just be one. And then in this other tab, quantity data, this is essentially for tracking inventory. After a new job's created, similar to the parts, when a new part's created, it initiates a part operation using Zapier. The same holds true here, is that when a new job is created, it initiates a record here, and it's called initial job opening. And this is just to get the grouping correct. So we have it grouped by job, and then we could track exactly the various different quantities of a job. So when it's completely machined, we have the quantity and the date that it was done. If it's placed in inventory, we can place it in inventory and then specify the particular location. And if parts are pulled from inventory, we can say where they were pulled from, and here it gives us a negative number. So we'd always have a sum right here of exactly how many parts we have in inventory.
Okay.
So if it's repeat orders and we have, and this particular customer is calling for more of the same, we can look and say, okay, we still have 20 in inventory. So if they ordered 100, we might only make 80, 90 more instead of making them all over.
Right.
Because we would already have some in inventory. Then here we have the different fixturing, tooling, and material costs. So fixturing operations work similar to part operations, but instead of a part, you have a fixture that's going to be utilized for making the part. So a fixture is just basically something to put your raw material in, that parts can be machined and everything's repeatable. So you would put your piece in there and then run it. It's kind of like similar to an assembly assembly line type situation. So you want to repeat the task so you're not doing things over and over again. And similarly here, we have the description, any attachments if they're available, setup, runtime, and this also allows us to look back at jobs, and we can access all our estimated costs for each particular job. So we have this job right here, 1001, the customer, and you can always access the customer's information by opening the stuff up. I just put my information in here. Shop rate, now this could change over time. So that's essentially what we charge a customer for per minute of machining cost. So $1.25 a minute would be $75 an hour. So if you have a shop rate of $75 an hour, you would put in a shop rate of $1.25 a minute. And this allows for changes in the shop rate. So I have an actual linked field for the shop rate instead of putting in a static value.
Okay.
So like if we go over here, shop rate, oh, it's over here. Yeah, shop rates. So here you would just have when this shop rate was implemented, and if it ends, it would no longer be available in that subsequent view.
Okay. So are you utilizing the select only from a certain view feature?
So yeah, that's exactly what we do. So
yeah. Okay.
We have current shop rate.
Well, there you go.
That just has a filter where the date end is empty. So if this is empty, then we know that's our current shop rate. But we don't want to delete our previous shop rates. You could have those in because other parts were machined utilizing those shop rates. These are just, fictitious values that I implemented just for the purpose of demonstration.
Sure.
And then we have fixture operation. We have tooling costs. Like we purchase tooling to actually manufacture the parts. So we have like things. These are called end mills, and these are utilized for cutting the actual material. So we have to purchase these when we're getting ready to run a job. And this just utilizes a lookup field. I have all the information with regard to this tool in a table. So here we have a URL where you could go and purchase the end mill. Here's the site for helical, and this is where we can purchase this particular end mill. So we would upload all those end mills that we would need and put the quantity here, and it would display exactly how much it costs us to purchase 2 end mills for this job. So that's ideal for, like I said, quoting parts for customers. We know exactly what our tooling is going to cost. Similarly, we have material. We have to buy the raw material in order to actually machine the part. Material is typically sold either by pieces, by piece, a length which is 12 feet long, or in increments of pounds. And so there we have our different units of measurement, and then price per unit, and then it just multiplies and gives us a total material price. So if we look back at our job, we know exactly how much the setup time for the job is, the run time, the total machining cost for labor, the machining cost per unit, all the setup and run time for fixturing, and then our tooling and material data. So then, like I said, one of the other things that I liked about our Airtable was the shared view. So here you would have a view that you could share with your customers, and you can include all the information that you want and exclude information that you don't want them to see. But here you could place customer notes so they could see exactly the status of their job. And
Right.
we use Kanban view in order to move jobs through the production process. We have a new job that's created, then we have to create a program for it. It's called G code. It's a programming language that machines can understand in order. So we got to create a program for it, or a solid model. A solid model would be a 3D model. Like for 3D printing, you have to create a 3D model.
Sure.
So we have 3D models that we deal with, that we use to extract dimensions from the part in order to manufacture it. And then it would go through the manufacturing process, deburring, which is removing sharp edges, and cleaning, and then any outside services that are applicable, like I said, plating or heat treating, which would harden the material. And then we have final inspection, hold for delivery, and then once it's shipped, it leaves this view. And then we have here, we can just assign different jobs to different machines. So here are our different machines. So if you have a new job and it's uncategorized, you could just assign it to the particular machine that it's going on. So the machinist who runs this machine would know, okay, this is my next job. This is the one that follows. And they would know exactly what is priority next. So,
wow. Okay. This is so comprehensive.
Yeah, I love Airtable. It's great. It's made, our lives significantly easier. One thing I'm implementing for my ERP business is a referral program, and we did that in Airtable as well. So essentially, somebody could become a referral partner, and we use a form to get them so they can sign up. And once they sign up, they would get a unique URL that would automatically be emailed to them after enrolling. And that automation I utilize Zapier for. And if they click this URL, their user ID automatically gets entered into that particular record. So anybody that they sign up would essentially be linked to them. So
okay.
if the person subsequently purchases any of our products or services, if they're linked to this particular partner, this particular partner would get compensation for that. So it's a way to utilize referrals using Airtable.
Right. Did you want to walk us through one of your Zap Years really quick?
Sure. Okay, so a lot of times in machining, we have to create custom documents for the customer. So, for example, we have internal certificates of conformance. So basically, this is a certificate that we send to the customer stating that all the dimensions on the parts that we created for them actually match the tolerances in the print. So it's just a visual representation of exactly how, or basically it's documentation that they can use, that the customer uses in order to ensure that we did what we said we were going to do. So in order to do that, all we do is click Add Internal Cert. And what I did is I created a template documents in Google Docs and entered various different variables in there, and it pulls variables from my Airtable base and plugs them into my Google Docs, or plugs them into my Google document. So add internal source. So if we look at the Zap, you would see that I use onto air as a trigger. So when a record's updated, that checkbox that I just checked is checked.
Mm-hmm.
So then it would, here, the second step just formats the date and time. Here it creates a document from a template in Google Docs, finds that document, it creates a new record in Airtable, and then uploads that record. So then we have access to it not only in Google Docs but in Airtable. So it's always associated with the job that it's for.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run this app, I can say run. If I run the Zap manually, we'll be able to go to Airtable, and documents are already stored here. And then I use a lookup field in the jobs table. So here's the document storage. So this is the document that it just created. Here's the
right
time it was created. So and then it looks that document up. So it's always with the job that it's for. So here's the document that we just created. So here's the date that it was created, the address. This is all pulling information, the address, the purchase order number, the part number, the quantity. That's all pulling information from Airtable. And I created that document in Google Docs using variables.
Right. So Airtable has, as one of the blocks that are available, the page designer. Can you just walk through really quickly why you chose this method as opposed to using that particular block?
Basically because I wanted to, I use the block as well for accessing certain documents that I have the Zap for. But as records get updated in an Airtable, your block information is going to change.
Right.
This just allows for a historic representation of what was done. So I can like here I can see exactly, here's the now function that this document was creating on October 20th. Well, if I looked in Page Designer a week from now, this top one would say October 27th instead of October 20th. So here I know exactly when it was sent to the customer. It was printed and sent October 20th, which was the only reason that I didn't use Page Designer for this particular application.
Makes sense. Well, this has been excellent. Thank you so much for walking us through and giving us a quick description of what exactly CNCing is and all the different parts and components that go into making anything, basically. 3D modeling, 3D printing, 3D machining, all incredibly interesting. And it's great seeing how Airtable can be used to help sort of formalize the process and make it clear cut for the next machinist to make anything that you guys decide to sell.
Exactly that. So Airtable has been a huge help in that regard. One particular thing I wish Airtable would do would be to allow the owner of the base to restrict particular fields and or tables. So just say, okay, this particular field is for everyone. This particular field is only available for upper management. This particular field is only available for whatever, whomever would need access to that particular information.
Sure.
The workaround that I use for that is I create, 2 different bases for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I have sensitive information that I don't want to everybody to see. I'd put it in a different base, and I'd have Zapier integrations plug the necessary data into the base that everyone would have access to.
Right. I kind of wish that too. In the meantime, I think Zapier is a great sort of middleman solution to getting us to make, for instance, a very, very detailed base about inventory management and process refinement. And I think this was a great example to show our listeners just how much you can do with Airtable.
Yes. And I'll make the base, obviously it's not going to have the Zapier integrations, but I'll make the base available on my website if anybody wants to download it and modify it for their purposes.
Oh, great. So we'll have a link to your website in our show notes, which should be below the text of this article. And also when it's uploaded to YouTube, we'll put the link there. But can you just say the name of your website and anywhere else our listeners can reach you?
Yes, it's defiantcnc.com.
Mm-hmm.
I have a YouTube channel that breaks down a lot of the Zapier integrations and how to create custom documents and things like that. And the YouTube is Defiant CNC. I'm also very active on Instagram. I have a lot of cool machining videos on Instagram that people can access. And that's Defiant CNC as well.
Great. Thanks so much again for joining us. I'm amazed.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great.